If we stand together, we'll never fall. We can make a difference.
Well, hi there, and welcome back to another episode of the All Around Growth podcast. My name is Rob Kaiser. I am your host. Today is Sunday, June 19th, 2022, and this is going to be a spiritual Sunday episode. I am on the road, and today may be a little bit of a throwback type feel for those of you who have been listening to this show for quite some time. The audio quality may not be what it normally is, since I simply have the stock iPhone headset instead of my normal microphone. So if there is any additional background noise, or if the audio quality isn't very good, I apologize in advance. Now, like I said, I am on the road. I'm also trying to navigate from a place where I'm not very familiar with. So if I get a little distracted at some point, or actually have to pause the recording in order to get my bearings straight, you've got a little advance notice as to why things may be a little discombobulated. And feeling, with that said, the feeling of discombobulation is actually I feel like I just left some other people discombobulated. Part of my routine on Sundays when I go to church is go to church and get a donut. That's kind of like a special little treat. And lately I have been visiting different churches. I'm currently a member of a local church in the town where I live, but for the past 6 to 9 months, I suppose. I don't know. It's been maybe longer. I have been exploring the Orthodox Church. And to be very specific, I've been exploring the Serbian Orthodox Church. Now, there's the Serbian Orthodox Church, and the Greek Orthodox Church, and the Russian Orthodox Church, and the Eastern Orthodox Church. They're all Orthodox churches, and I'm this isn't going to be a lesson in Orthodox, the Orthodox faith rather, or the Orthodox Church, but it's going to be an episode where I share some of my experiences today, because they have been consistent with the experiences that I've had at other churches thus far, and it has each church that I have attended has never ceased to the events that occurred in that day just simply were such that blew me away and left me feeling things that that are very difficult for me to articulate. But I will do my best. Before I dive into the church talk, if you will, I'd like to share my little donut story with you. And like I said, Sunday church, I very much like to get a donut and a small cup of coffee, maybe grab my journal, do a little weekly review, do a little bit of weekly planning. But and the way it normally works is many of the Orthodox churches I've been attending have been up in the Cleveland metro area. This one, on the other hand, St. Michael the Archangel, was in the Akron area. And up in Cleveland, there are a ton of old little donut shops, many of which are closed on Sunday by the time liturgy ends, but that's okay. I've been able to find a couple cool little donut shops, and usually I do so just by pulling them up on Google Maps and doing a review or doing a search for donuts and looking for the oldest old-timey donut-looking shop. And that's what I did here. I found something called Peace, Love, and Little Donuts. And I don't know, I didn't really know what to expect. It had high ratings, and it was kind of, I don't know. So I went there, and it was like this weird little, très chic donuts. These little tiny donuts with little cake donuts that just were all dolled up with all sorts of doodads and foofahs and little, just kind of weird. And I walked in and looked around and looked at all the marshmallows and the sprinkles and the this and the that and the pretzels and the that. And there was like a frozen yogurt plate, a little froyo bar. You pick your donut, and then they dress it up with all the junk you want, except unlike froyo, you can't do it yourself. So it was kind of lame. And I walked in, and they're like, "Hey, can I help you?" And it's like 4 kids in this empty donut shop, and I'm like, "What is this?" And anyways, I said I'd never been here before, and what's this all about? And they were like, "Oh, we have tiny donuts." And I was like, "Okay." Didn't really see any coffee, and I asked, "Well, do you have?" Hoping that they were going to say no. I was like, "Well, do you have any coffee?" And they said yes. And I thought, "Oh, okay," because I was going to use the no as my opportunity to make a polite exit out. They said yes, and then I sort of looked around in a strange way at all these little donuts, and then proceeded to explain that I was really more interested in a quote real donut. And then I told them to have a nice day, and I left. So no donut for me. I'm going to simply take the healthy route home and not have a donut today. So anyways, with that said, let me take a sip of water and share with you my experience today. Now, I won't get into, well, maybe that's another topic for another day. And if you guys are interested in some additional dialogue about the Orthodox Church, you are welcome to email me at allaroundgrowth@gmail.com. I would be happy to correspond with you that way. We can also talk about it in the Telegram chat, t.me/allaroundgrowth, but I understand that that is not the predominant topic of choice for a lot of people, and generally speaking, I don't try to go there. I don't try to push this, but the reality is the spiritual component is one of 7 aspects of life that I have chosen to focus on. And lately, it's become a pretty big component. So I talk about it, I share it, I encourage and welcome any dialogue about it, but I'm not here to push it. I'm not here to convert you. I'm not here to convince you. I'm not here to do anything other than to share my own experiences with you in the case that you have some kind of curiosity about the church and maybe have in the past experienced some things that have driven you away from the church, like me, yet you still feel some kind of longing. And that's where I've been for quite some time. And that longing, that feeling of filling the void, if you will, seems to have dissipated since going down this road. Now I'm sort of I still am a member of the church in town. I talk about this with my pastor, and he gets it, you know. It's wonderful to have this kind of relationship with my pastor. It's wonderful to have the conversations that I have with him, because he's open and receptive and willing to listen and willing to, you know, share his own experiences in conjunction with the experiences that I've had and the experiences I will continue to have. So that is that makes this whole process of exploration a little bit easier to navigate, because I've got some people in my life that have provided me some guidance and counsel with regard to the exploration of the Orthodox Church. And basically the guidance and counsel that I received was quite simple. If you are interested in the church, if you are interested in Orthodoxy, the suggestion that was made to me was explore the Serbian Orthodox churches. Don't read anything about it. Don't, you know, just go to divine liturgy and speak to the priest. All right? That was it. Don't read anything. Don't do anything other than show up, participate in the experience, and talk with someone. So that's what I've done. For the last 6 months or so, I have gone to 4 or 5 different churches, both Serbian and Russian Orthodox. And you know, some of you may be wondering, well, why Serbian Orthodox Church? Why? Well, initially I wondered the same thing, but I didn't think about it too much. I knew that I was in a position where I was seeking and longing, and what I needed was to put my own thoughts aside and focus on what it was that I was seeking. And at the end of the day, what I was seeking was to further cultivate my relationship with God. Not just cultivate the relationship with God, but to truly understand what God wants for me in my life, and how I can live in a manner that is consistent and aligns with that calling, and dare I say, so as to go so far as to become one with God. I believe that's possible. I've always had this understanding of God, that God is us, that we are God, and or at least we have the potential to be so bold and to say that we are God is, you know, a concept that was introduced to me through, quite frankly, the use of psychedelics, you know, and these mind expanding experiences where, you know, we understand all that we are and all that we come from and all that where we're going, and it's a truly fascinating experience. If not something I recommend just, you know, blindly to everyone, because these are dangerous things to deal with that can have actual physical and mental ramifications and consequences, negative as well. So it's definitely not something to be toyed with. But that is kind of where that seed was initially planted, as well as the whole background and childhood of being raised within the Roman Catholic Church. Now, moreover, the idea of unity with God and things like that was kind of something that I also explored with Taoism and things like that, like God is Tao, but Tao is not God. And all right, so again, God is Tao, but Tao is not God. And I've spent a lot of time just contemplating things like this, and continued to try to fill that spiritual void over time by attending churches only to be, or to feel, rejected and unwelcome, and though I was not good enough. And that went on for decades. Until recently, up until a few years ago, when I became a member of my local church, the United Church of Christ, where I was welcomed and loved and served, which is what the church speaks of. Medina United Church of Christ, welcoming, loving, serving, to the point where I did feel so welcome, I wanted to give back, and I started participating or leading Financial Peace University courses, and that led to a stint with the church filling an interim role, an open role in the treasurer position, because our treasurer had passed away at the time, and I was hosting Financial Peace University. It seemed like a reasonable thing to do, to ask me to help, and I did, and it's been a wonderful few years participating in the church. I'm no longer the treasurer there. That was an interim role, and to focus on all of the other transition that's going on in life, just like I quit my job or resigned from my day job, I also resigned from my role of treasurer. And so here we are. All during this time, you know, I've been going back and forth with, you know, generally I don't go to church when we have our family dinners each month. There's maybe one other weekend a month where I don't go to church, especially in the summer times or in season. It's very busy. And so I've been going to Divine Liturgy once or twice a month recently, and then my local church once a month or so. And just finding a nice balance. So in each church that I've gone to, each Serbian Orthodox church, the very first one, I went in and explained that this was, it was also suggested to me that I explain my intentions to the people there, and that's what I did. I said, I'm new here. I'm not sure what to do, because the Serbian Orthodox Church is very different than in terms of appearance and just about everything. The actual experience that you'll have is very different than many other churches, but it's very moving. It struck me in ways that I find difficult to articulate, and it is and continues to be something that is incredibly emotional for me, while I don't understand anything that's going on, because in the Serbian Orthodox Church, the service is held in Old Church Slavonic. So I can't really, I don't understand that, but as far as I can tell, a comparable analogy to what the Church Slavonic language is kind of like what Bear with me, guys. I'm trying to figure out how to navigate my windshield wipers and get some washer fluid up there. I'm driving my mother's car. But the old Roman Catholic masses were held in Latin, right? And that changed last century. And the church, the Serbian Orthodox Church, is held in Old Slavonic, which may be a dead language, but just think of a church service that you don't really understand. Many churches have books that are in English, Russian, or English, Slavonic, and Serbian, but nevertheless, I digress. Where I was going with this is that when I went in, there's a room before the church where you can buy some candles and, put them in these things that are filled with sand. I don't really know. They're like votive candles, if you will, I presume. And there's usually someone there manning the booth, if you will. And so I spoke with this individual the very first time I went to a Serbian Orthodox church. I decided to go to a church called St. Sava up in the Cleveland area because, well, it had the most Google reviews, and I figured that would be my strategy toward approaching these churches, is just go to where the reviews led me, and then once I experienced or kind of got all of got the experience at all of the churches, one appealed to me more than the other, if you will, I would continue to go back. And so I'm still in that exploratory process. And at the very first church, I was welcomed. During the service, an individual brought out a little liturgy bulletin to me and explained that they are, that if I wanted to follow along, I could. And on that Sunday, the priest came out to greet me afterwards and sat with me and talked with me, and that was beautiful. And subsequently, every other church and every other service that I've been to, I've been welcomed. They've gone out of their way to welcome me because they recognize that I'm new, and that is a comforting feeling when you are doing something new, doing something outside of your comfort zone, and trying to grow in an environment that you really aren't accustomed to. But to have someone or to have someone approach you and welcome you in such a way is truly a blessing. One that, again, I'm struggling with how to share this because it's so wonderful. It's been so wonderful, and today was no different. Today I walked and I didn't feel overly welcome, but the gentleman who was taking the money for the candles, I don't think he also was exceptionally fluent in English, but he spoke enough to, lead me to the restroom, and then we spoke a little bit before I simply went into the church and to sit for a few minutes and collect myself before the liturgy actually began. Now, what is interesting about this is that sorry guys, I lost my train of thought there for a second. I went in, I sat down, and the service began. And it was in large part just like any other service. And towards the end of the service, the the congregation, the parishioners, if you will, went to receive the blessed bread. And I believe that I can do this, but there's still so much that I'm not sure about, because I'm not Orthodox at this point, and so I'm just trying to be respectful and what have you. So everyone kind of concluded and then left as though the service was over. But there was one woman that it was a smaller church without a proper choir, and it was 4 women singing, and an elderly woman leading the singing, kind of directing it, if you will. And after everyone left, I continued to stand there, listening to her sing, and the priest was still in the back at this point, praying, responding to her singing. I'm not sure what was going on, but that was it. There was another woman there who was taking a picture of this, that I don't know what to call it. It's like a big chandelier, and in the middle of the church there's like a dome, right? And think what a lighthouse looks like, and you've got this. You can see all the way around you if you were up in the top of the lighthouse, and that's what this dome is like in the center of the church. You can see all around, if you were up in that dome, but there's nothing up there except paintings, icons, and then hanging down from that is a big chandelier-looking thing. And this woman, I noticed, I was really kind of listening, standing, and had my eyes closed, on and off, and I'm just kind of losing myself in this experience because it was beautiful. It was just myself, the woman, the priest, and then some other woman sitting in front of me taking a picture or maybe some video of this chandelier. And I wasn't really paying attention to her, but then she stopped and then she left. And then it was just the 3 of us in there. And I look up to see what she was looking at, and it turns out I don't know what she was looking at, or what, if she was taking a picture or taking a video or what, but I looked up into this vaulted dome, and there's a fair amount of incense that's used during the service. And the light was shining through these windows in this dome, and the way that the beams of light were cast down into the church through these windows, through the smoke of the incense, just struck me. It was stunning. It was beautiful. And here I am just looking up into this intricate chandelier with these beams of light illuminating the smoke from the incense, listening to the call and response of the priest and the choir director, for lack of a better term, and I'm just taking it in. I'm drinking it in, almost to the point where I've got my hands to my side, my palms up, and much in the way that I've begun this practice when I'm actively listening to someone. I think it's kind of weird, so I try to be mindful of it, and I'll put my hands on my thighs, preferably underneath the table so it doesn't look so weird, but palms up, actively listening. And I feel that, I don't know why, I don't know where that came from, but that practice allows me to focus more intently on the person that I'm speaking with, helps me listen better and communicate better. So I was standing there doing that, palms out, just drinking in this experience, and then they concluded, and the lights started to get shut off in the church, and I wiped my tears and I left. And there were some people talking outside, and the rest of the people had gone over to the hall for coffee. And I opted not to do that today. I was going to just head home, get my coffee and donut. And although I did go to the social hour the last time I went to a Serbian church, that was St. Demetrius in Fair Lawn, Akron area. And that was wonderful. It was a very, very small service and kind of an awkward coffee social hour because everyone is speaking Russian or Serbian or some sort of some dialect thereof, and I'm kind of this English dude just standing around smiling and listening to people. And anyways, a few people, English speaking people, welcomed me, and we had some nice conversation. But that's not what it was today. I decided I was going to leave and then go on about my day. But shortly after I left, I made my way down the stairs, and I hear, "Sir, sir," and I think maybe. So I look back, and that woman and the priest are at the door of the church. They had come to track me down, to talk with me, and to welcome me. And again, like I said, every time, this is how it's been. And she grabbed my hand and welcomed me and said, "Hi, I'm Anita," and her English was very good. And the priest, Father Milan, something or other, he made sure to welcome me, but he continued on to the social hour. And I sat there and I talked with this woman, Anita, who was, I'm not sure, in her 70s, I presume. And we talked, and we talked, and we talked. And I explained just really, she did most of the talking. When she came out to greet me, I was so overwhelmed with emotion that I had a difficult time even saying my name. Okay, this is how profound these experiences have been. She's got my hand in hers, and she's trying to just welcome me with love and acceptance. And as she's asking my name, I'm getting choked up, and I can hardly even say my own name. But I finally managed to get it out. My name is Rob. And we sat there and talked, and she was explaining to me that she was about to leave to go visit her brother, who lived near a monastery, or maybe in a monastery. And she's talking to me about this, and how she got exposed to the Serbian church, the Serbian Orthodox Church herself, and it was through her family, her father, and she explained some of the differences with the Russian Orthodox Church, or at least the one that she attended, and how they grew away from the calendar. They grew away from, a couple things that just, made her go, or encouraged her and her father to go the route of the Serbian Orthodox Church. Okay. And she mentioned that she was on her way to visit her brother at Saint Tikhon something or other monastery. And I said, that's interesting that you say that. I have been considering attending a monastery just to spend a few days there and get my mind right, try to process a lot of what I'm experiencing. And as far as I can tell, these monasteries, you go, you work, and you spend time talking with the priests or the brothers there, or the monks, or whatever they're called. And you work, you talk, and you eat, and you sleep. And that's the gist of your time at the monastery. And I'm quite certain there's prayer in there as well. Now, I said, well, that's interesting, because that was one of the monasteries that I looked at, but I ended up calling Saint Gregory of Palamas Monastery, and she had some ties to that too, to that monastery. And she invited me to actually go out to the monastery with her, and I thought, oh well, unfortunately I can't this week. I've got prior obligations, but I guess I have a standing invitation at this monastery now. And she is married to a Roman Catholic man, this woman Anita, and she's been married to this Roman Catholic man for 50 years. And she invited me to speak to him. I was astonished at how wonderful and how welcoming and how loving, and just the continually amazed of what happened, and it was it was a beautiful conversation. It was a beautiful experience. She told me that the priest there would not be present for 3 weeks because he was making a trip to Serbia, but that I was definitely welcome back, and I will go back to see her, to speak to Anita about my faith, about the church, about ways to learn more, about just simply having conversations with people about things that I don't understand. And I told her that the advice and counsel that was given to me was exactly that I mentioned earlier. Show up, talk with people, gain the experience. And as we said experience, or as I said experience, she said experience at the same time. And we just kind of chuckled as we took the words right out of each other's mouth. And after a lengthy discussion, it was something that we wished each other well. She jumped in her little Toyota Prius, that's it, the little hybrid car. I had to think if it was a Honda or Toyota, but no, it was a Prius. And then she went on her way, and I continued to weep as I drove back to my car. And then I went ahead and left to get my donut, which I was really just looking for a cruller or a simple glazed donut. I don't want any foo-foo. But, foo-foo is what I was presented with, and foo-foo is what I walked away from. And that, I'm kind of glad, because I was able to ride out the thoughts that I had that were on my mind while they were still fresh and clear in my mind, if you will. So anyways, guys, that's really about all I've got for today. Like I said, It is not my intent or my objective to turn the All Around Growth podcast into a spiritually dominant show and a show that talks about little else other than the Orthodox faith. However, I do enjoy these Spiritual Sunday episodes. I do enjoy sharing my experience with you. I hope that there's something to gain, or something to gain for at least someone out there who is looking to walk a different path. And if that's you, again, you are welcome to contact me at allaroundgrowth@gmail.com, or even in the Telegram group at t.me/allaroundgrowth. I know that this can be an intimidating, frightening process. There's a lot of pain associated with it, a lot of challenge associated with it, and a lot of us have had, well, for lack of a better term, somewhat traumatic experiences in the different churches that we've been a part of. And so far, over the past 6-9 months or so, however long it's been, all those experiences that I just talked about that I've experienced in other denominations of the Christian faith are exactly not what I've experienced within the Orthodox Church at these Serbian churches. So if you've been feeling put off by the Christian faith in any way, shape, or form, but you still think there's something there with Christ, the Trinity, and you want to talk about that, I'd love to talk about it with you. allaroundgrowth@gmail.com. And I wish you well on your journey, and I hope that this episode provides a little bit of insight and gives you a little bit of strength as you walk your own path. Because all of these paths, they lead to the same destination, the beginning and the end. It's the same for us all. But the path that we choose to get there, I think it matters. And while there's many paths to consider and contemplate walking, I've begun to believe that there really is only one path that can be considered the royal path. So, guys, thank you for listening. I sincerely appreciate you. I hope you have a wonderful week. This is Rob Kaiser, and thank you. Blessings.
World of pain, what can I do? The needs are many and answers are few. People turn away and I wonder why. If I can help somebody, then I want to try. People may think that it's odd that I believe in friendship and love, and truth is always the best way to the world that may seem odd. I'm an odd fellow. I'm an odd fellow. Whoa, whoa. I'm an odd fellow. If we stand together, we'll never fall. We can make a difference and that I believe